welcome back to another collector's discussion. Today we have in-hand photos of the InArt Pennywise. Out of all the figures they've put out or slated to release, this was my most anticipated. It still is, but it has not gone without its little controversy or its little nitpicks already with these new photos. And I do agree with them, but I do want to wait until I get it in hand to start completely judging it. And I also want to add here that I have the Hot Toys one still in my collection, and when this one releases I want to do a comparison and kind of deep dive to see which one is the better one. And yeah, hopefully this one is a quicker turnaround in shipment wise, especially here in Australia because we're usually the last guys on the list to get shit. Hopefully, because it is a small batch made, I'm pretty sure only like 1,200 of these got produced, so hopefully that means it's a quick turnaround so collectors can get them, the few that did all of this. And yeah, I'll pretty much end my rambling and get straight into the pictures. So if you guys do enjoy this, make sure you like and sub. I'll pull the pictures up now and we'll get right into them. So we've got the photos here from in-hand collectors. I assume these are Chinese collectors or Asian collectors that got this obviously earlier than us in the Western world. And also I want to add here that I'm going to go super nerdy with this because horror is my niche of collecting. And when you have a company like InArt who started off pretty strong with their Joker, you know, they went all the way with accuracy to the point where you had suspenders underneath the vest, where I assume most collectors probably haven't even realized that, but Joker had like custom tailored suspenders, and it's like they went all out with that. But there's a few stuff here and there with this particular figure where it looks like they've taken some shortcuts or they're just kind of ignorant with the property. But I'll get into that later. We're pretty much getting to the photos now. So you've got kind of the cardboard cutouts of basically the circus here. Then you got the whale house, and then you got dairy, which I think this is from the Tim Curry version. I'm pretty sure this maps from Tim Curry's version, which I think you get multiple options, so I'm all fine with that. So one thing that InArt didn't do bad or screw up on was, in my opinion, the head sculpts. I think they're perfect. I think they're correct in size, because a lot of people think this is overscaled for the head sculpt, which I don't think it is. Pennywise had a massive head in the movie, and Skarsgård almost had like a completely prosthetic cap to make his head elongated, so I think it's represented well here. You can see the eyes are not really sunken in like Joker, so that's good that they've updated the rolly eye system. Also, this is individually rolly, which is way better than, you know, the single joint, because that's going to break eventually, or if you're like me, you have it slightly cross-eyed. You can also see that the collar is a bit weathered on the edges here, something that the Hot Toys one didn't have. I got the Hot Toys one right next to me for reference. So the weathering is pretty nice on this. It is a bit puffy, and I've got side-by-side photos to see where the issue is with this particular figure and its photos pretty much. So you got the alternate head sculpt, which is probably, I'm conflicted which one to use. This one looks really, really good, and I love the teeth as well. This is way better than the Hot Toys one. The Hot Toys one is almost like clunky. This one's like really, really good, and it's got that translucent look. Like I said here, this showcases the individual eyes, so it's not on one purse, it's on individual. Hopefully they continue with this with all their stuff and not just keep it restricted to this Pennywise. So then you got another picture here of the head sculpt and showcasing the size of it. Again, I think the size is fine. It will be interesting to see how it partners up with the Hot Toys one. I'll grab it here. The Hot Toys one is a bit underscaled, I think. And also the neck is way too exposed. But there is some stuff that I think Hot Toys done better than InArt so far. So you got some more pictures here of the eyes rotating and kind of a tilt. Also the hair is really, really nice for the rooted hair here. A lot of people as well don't realize that there is 2 different hairstyles that was in part 1 and part 2. So part 1, it was more sleeked back, and part 2's version, which is Hot Toys version, has kind of like the Elvis S curl. That's some differences between the 2 movies, and as well the suit itself has differences that a lot of collectors probably don't know of. So you got some more photos here. I think the main problem with the collar is, I don't think it's too much. I think it's not laid properly. So it shouldn't be too much sticking out. I think that's the problem. I think if you pinch the sides and kind of scrunch it up, I think that's what the problem is. Hopefully that's just a futzing issue, and maybe we can fix it when it's in hand. Worst case scenario, you probably have to pose it with water, which a lot of people will probably be pissed off with that. I would have my critique doing that too, because I don't think you have to go to that extent. But if it has to go that way, it is what it is, I guess, at that point. So I think this is a good showcase of what I'm talking about. You can see these are way too just out and about. With the Hot Toys one, they've done a really smart thing where it looks like they've stitched the collar on the actual clown suit, so it doesn't go out of control like this one is. But the problem with the Hot Toys one is they haven't put enough of the collar on, and it looks like InArt have put more than enough, but they haven't tamed it by stitching it together. So you kind of got these 2 extreme sides where neither of them are completely accurate. And again, this might be just a posing issue. Maybe the collector's just thrown it on the display base without really moving the fabric and just taking photos like that. That might be the issue too, because I think everything else is fine. The whole torso area is really, really good. It's crumpled up as well, which the Hot Toys one looks like it's just freshly produced, when it shouldn't be. It should be really wrecked like this. Although I don't see a lot of weathering compared to the prototype. Maybe the camera's not picking it up, because my InArt Joker didn't really pick up the weathering as much, but in hand you actually see the weathering all over the place. Maybe it's just camera stuff. And just a quick difference between the Hot Toys one and this one is the buttons. So for part 1, the buttons are as is here, and for part 2, the button isn't on the belt, it's all on the chest. There should be 3 buttons on the chest for part 2. So if you're going to swap out the head sculpt here and pop it on the Hot Toys one, that's going to be part 2 representation because of the suit and that difference. Well, actually, here it doesn't look too bad. It looks like the photographer has changed the style. You see what I mean here? It's a less wild in that other photo compared to here. This is all over the place. So it looks like you can maybe pinch the sides and have it really flush up to the pretty much the ear level is where it should be. I think this photo looks really good. So it probably isn't as restrictive or wild as collectors are fearing. See, here it looks not too bad. Here looks okay. It is a lot, but looking at the screen grabs, he did have a lot of the collar. I think it's just personally the futzing. I think that's the main issue. Everything else is perfect. It's very similar to the Hot Toys one. And that's also another interesting thing too of the material. The Hot Toys Pennywise, you can't really move the fabric without it. It kind of like bounces back to its odd shape. It's kind of got a weird material. It's kind of like a paper mache material. It's very weird. Hopefully this one's a bit more manageable. I mean, it has to be if it's going to look like this out of the box, to be fair. And this is one of my favorite poses as well. With the display base, I'm going to display it with this backdrop as well. The kind of firework backdrop. Another negative I have, and this is me being extremely nitpicky, especially to this scene, Pennywise wasn't smiling at all in this scene. This is probably one of the few scenes where he was grumpy, you know, and I would have preferred a really pissed off head sculpt. But obviously this one and the regular smiling one, they're the more popular ones to choose. This is actually a good photo to get my point across with the accuracy, and it's got to do with the shoulder joints here and the bicep point. There should be actually 3 of these red straps on the arm. So you should have one which is hidden, which is right where the shoulder is. You should have one here where the lower bicep is, and then one as is. So it looks like InArt have missed that accuracy. Hot Toys missed that too, and Primon seemed to miss it. The only company that nailed it was NECA, which I applaud NECA. They've always seemed to really care about their product. It's just a shame they've never gone to the higher end. And also, I hope that this is, at the very least, if it's going to be inaccurate, hopefully this strap is not like the Hot Toys one where it's permanently stitched in. Hopefully this is free flowing, so you can at least push down some of this excess puffy stuff and have it here. If not, I'll be pretty disappointed, because it's like I have to custom make a strap to put here now, which that's going to be pretty shitty. I'll be pretty upset if this isn't at the least free flowing, so I can bunch up on the bottom a bit. So we got another collector's photography here. This is the same guy, I'm pretty sure, that has the Gandalf in hand, and it's pretty natural-ish lighting, and the suit does look pretty good here, especially the collar. I think the collar's a bit more fixed. It still needs a bit more fixing than this, but I think it's better than the other photos. I'll say that now, this looks all over the place. But yeah, it looks like there is a bit of weathering going on here. Maybe not as much as I would like, but I think it's a bit better than the Hot Toys one. The head sculpts though are 10 out of 10. They've knocked it out the park with the head sculpts. It's just that I think the suit is it needs a bit of work, and hopefully you can do it. But yeah, you got kind of an awkward pose here, hunched over. I haven't really talking about the display base at all, and I love it. Apparently it's real wood, and it's got like velvet curtains, and it's got the swappable backgrounds pretty much. I really like it, and for me that has the Hot Toys one. You could put these two side by side and have pretty much a different display with them, because Hot Toys one pretty much has stolen Prime 1 with the drain. So this is a bit more closer up, and I think here is probably the best photo to show how big and kind of like top heavy the head is. Again, something that the Hot Toys one is a bit lacking is that really alien size, and I think this one is really good with that. So you got pretty much a screen grab of the movie, and you can see the collar is pretty puffy, but like I said, if you go to that photo here, it's not strapped down enough, and like I said, I think you need to pinch both sides of the collar and squeeze them together and try to get it to sit like this. If you can do it like that and achieve this look, then I think I would be happy, because that will look spot on to this screen grab. So you just go back to here and here. You can see it's a shame. It looks like InArt haven't sewed and stitched the collar properly, and it's just free flowing everywhere, and it's just all over the place. And I think because these are such thin pieces of fabric, I doubt they put wiring for people to kind of pose it. Yeah, I don't know. I think as a last resort, I'll have to water this down. Just get a paintbrush and a bit of water. Obviously take the head sculpt off and try and permanently put it in this pose with the water. Let the water dry up. I mean, that would be the last resort. It's a shame it has to go to that, but it looks like it does. So I think this is a behind the scenes photo because it doesn't really have the color grading that the movie had. It's a bit grainy, but again, it showcases how big and puffy that collar is, which I do think InArt achieved better than the Hot Toys one. Yeah, it's just a shame it's not seeming to form like this out of the box. And yeah, you can see here how puffy the shoulder pads are. Going back to here, it is puffy, but it's missing another band here to just break it up a bit. Like I said, there should be 3 here. One here, and then one where InArt have put one. That's also given the illusion that it's too puffy. And Hot Toys screwed that up. Prime 1 screwed that up. I've also seen like 1-to-1 prop replicas that have screwed that up as well. So it seems like a lot of companies aren't even really looking at the prop. They're just kind of copying each other and they're all getting it incorrect at the end. Speaking of the screen use suit, you have pretty much what I've been saying is, this is part 1 obviously because the button's here. So you've got the collar. Actually, the collar is different sizing. Hang on a minute, let me go to InArt on. That might be an issue too. Maybe that's what's given it this too big look. Yeah, it is. It's not sized properly. That's also an issue too. This is all one size. Yeah, so that's what's making it look weird. If they shortened... I don't want to get scissors and start cutting shit though as well. I'm just going to have to try and scrunch it up and try and make it look as close to this as possible. And like I said, you've got one band here, you got one massive one here, and there should be one just underneath here. And you go to the InArt one, it's missing that middle part. And this is just, you could, oh actually you can see it here better. So there's one here and one here, right there. So it looks like InArt got this part correct, but missed this. So it's disappointing that they haven't seemed to look too much into the actual screen use suit. So you got side by side here of InArt and Pennywise film version. And I think the head sculpt is great. I think they've nailed the head sculpt. Even to the point to like the miscolored face paint on the nose and even a bit here on the lips. You could see it here on the movie still. It is discolored and it looks like they've done really good with that. The hair is pretty good as well. Again, it's the collar. That's 100% the problem. You can see here it's cut in different levels. It's pretty much 3 big levels. So you got the massive size, then you've got kind of that middle in between, and then you've got small. And then you go to InArt here and it's one big blob. I've got the Hot Toys one here. It looks like they've done the same thing as InArt. It's one length. It's pretty much one length, aside from like one row, which it's a touch bit smaller. It's not that drastic though, especially compared to the movie still there. That's visually different. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing, but I'm gonna have to try and work through it. I don't want to start tearing up either of the suits as well, so I'm probably just gonna have to makeshift a band and try to water treat this if I can't pose it the way I naturally can, pretty much. So then you got the last photo here, and I think personally the proportions, so the actual thickness of the suit and the size of the body and all that, even the head sculpt to a degree I think is fine. Actually, you could probably see even better here, just how massive the head sculpt is compared to the body. I think personally it's probably a camera illusion and just how all over the place this collar is, and it's not looking big like the head sculpt here. Again, I have to wait until it's in hand, until I can start like tweaking and see if it is as bulbous as this is pretty much. I mean, InArt, and this is not just InArt, this is like Hot Toys and Prime One and all these guys too. Like, you can see there's 2 bands here. Like, you can see it visually there, and yet they didn't put one here. I mean, that's the same thing with Hot Toys as well. It's like, I don't know where they got their source material from, but even just a simple pose like this, and both companies use this promotional pose for their figures, and not a single person in their department said, wait, there's 3 bands on the arm, not just 2. I don't get it. The pants are good though. Some people saying it's too puffy and too big. I think everything's fine here. Again, it's just the collar and the shoulder pads. That's the main disappointment, and it will be even more disappointing if you can't tweak it more than this. That's going to be the biggest upsetting moment for me, especially this being my most anticipated one, and it looks like they might have shitted on this one, especially because it being lower batch numbers. And this is also a bit of a worrying thing, not just for this company, but for every other company too, where you get a lot of people that want like the retro stuff like Terminator, even the original Tim Curry Pennywise, RoboCop, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, just all the classic, iconic pop culture characters. Because they're not high demand, if they do end up doing these properties, these companies just might half-ass it because, again, low batch numbers, low people order, and it's a shame because it's something that I did generally anticipate for. Again, it's not in hand, so I'm not going to start whining or anything just yet. It's just, it is concerning where visual stuff like something like the band there and the collar placement and the length, it's inaccurate and it could have easily have been fixed. But I have to wait and see until I, again, have it in hand. If I'm able to futz it away and it can blend in nice, then it should be all good. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure you like and sub, and I'll see you in the next one.